Welcome to the Premier Soccer League headquarters as we preview the big quarterfinal match, which is the Soweto Derby. And I'm joined now here by the away team for this encounter, that is Orlando Pirates. Thank you very much, Coach. Maybe if you can just open with just opening remarks heading into this quarterfinal match with semi-final place up for grab.
Yeah, good afternoon to members of the media. Sorry about that. Yeah, we face a difficult team, a strong team in Kaizer Chiefs. Of course, a rival that is unbeaten in the last five. Structurally very well organized, very well drilled, with a very strong technical team and a lot of very good individuals that in different moments can turn the result for them. So we know what's ahead, and we've done our analysis, and we're as prepared as we go into most of our fixtures.
All right, thank you, Coach. Let's now open it up to the floor. We'll take questions from the floor for the coach.
Mark Stradham, Tisa Blackstar. Coach Rulani, your last Soweto derby was probably your first press conference. You took a lot of people by surprise with your honesty at the time. Just a two-part question. Was that a growing experience, that sort of honesty, because it seemed, it had a lot of reaction. It also lit up that Soweto derby. There were a lot of us who really enjoyed it. And a second part question, at the time you had a lot to say about Giovanni Solinas, the predecessor to Ernst Middendorp, questioning how a coach of that stature was coaching Kaizer Chiefs. Ernst has this ability to also get a reaction and antipathy, I think, from a lot of South African coaches. I don't know if it's often his attitude and the way he goes about things. Often I think it's his style of football. Just what is your opinion on Ernst?
Yeah, top coach, very, very strong personality, of course, and I think that's why you get a lot of coaches responding to him the way they do. A good tactician. His teams are always posing a lot of tactical scenarios during 90 minutes. But I think he's a coach that's very clued up in the way he wants his teams to play. If you look at how his teams have always played, be it Maritzburg, Free State, Golden Arrows, even the Chiefs of the past and the current Kaizer Chiefs, there's a lot of similarities with regards to his game methodology. So, yeah, he's a good coach and one that we respect a lot, and one that I think has done well for the team. He came in last season, and although they didn't finish in the top 8, he was clear in what needed to be done with regards to improving the team. And it is by no surprise that they're doing as well as they're doing. They've got a clear structure of playing. They're doing very well with their build-ups. Katsanda is very important for them. Mato and Cardoso are doing a lot better with regards to first station passes and how they deal with receiving balls from whether it's Kune or Akpe. So that's one of the things, and but like I say, it's the triangle in the first phase of their build-up is clear. So and that's always down to the coach when there's a clear structure with regards to that, and yeah.
All right, let's Tepo.
Thanks. Coach, your thoughts on benefit referees? No, kidding. On a serious note now. Coach, do you think that maybe perhaps because you played a game in midweek, whereas Chiefs are, I could imagine, a little bit fresher for this encounter, could have a bearing on the result on Saturday?
No, not at all. I think we can't start with. We know how strong we have to be. We know how important the game is, and fatigue is a state of mind. They are the team that's in form. They are the team that is unbeaten in 6 if you count the Felix Cup, the Shell Felix Cup, and against Sundowns. So in 6 matches they're unbeaten, and last defeat was against Polokwane, the 1-0. So they're the ones that come in without the match midweek. So let them show us how energetic and how fresh they are.
Coach Minentle from Newsroom Africa. At the start of this season, if you look at the Black Label, if this fixture, if we knew, would come along this early, a lot of people would have banked you. But now the reality is completely changed. You know, just how have you been going about in trying to draw the same confidence that we saw early on in the season, you know, when they went out against Chiefs and they beat them so convincingly? How have you gone about to try and draw that same confidence that we saw at the beginning of the season to ensure that, you know, on the day they give a similar performance that we saw?
Yeah, the players know we can't change the world. We can only adapt to the circumstances that we are faced and the challenges that we are faced with. We know the current situation that we are in, and we know what needs to be done. The fortunate part is that we've got a lot of very experienced players. We've got a very, very good group and an honest group of players. And we've set certain standards for ourselves, and we know that regardless of what happens after 90 minutes, we know that, or in this case, 120 minutes, we know that there are certain technical, tactical, psychological elements that we cannot compromise on. The players know that. So fortunately for us, that's our blueprint. That's our way of working, and we've set benchmarks with regards to that, and we don't compromise on that. And fortunately, we've got, like I say to you, experienced players that are able to make sure that they extend that onto the pitch and assist us, particularly when you've got so many of these younger ones, Monyane, Mabasa. The younger ones have a very good environment which allows them to grow and to become better, because you can't ask for more when you've got senior players that, regardless of the scenario or situation, one, they don't compromise on the standards of our tactical preparations, so which is important. And two, they never whinge and whine and complain. Our senior players are the first ones to roll up their sleeves and pull up their socks and engage themselves into the battle. So when you are a younger player and you've got that sort of example, it only allows them to continue to serve and give their best for the club.
Coach?
Yeah.
Just an injury update, and then also just, I mean, in leading up to this derby, there's been sort of, maybe you could argue, two standout players on either side, in Nukovic and Mabasa, who's been banging in the goals. Would Nukovic be difficult to stop, and what has also kept Tshegofatso going in these last couple of games?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't give an injury update as yet. We've got training at 3:30, so we'll engage with the people, but it's the same status quo at present. On Nurkovic, yeah, a very good addition to the Kaizer Chiefs team. Gives it different dimension. Gives them a focal point in contrast to the way they play, to be honest with you, because they play the game forms that they take on the pitch do not directly, and if you look at the game forms and you watch the game and you look at the profile of the players, sometimes you'll be misled, because you would think that there's a lot of long balls that go to the target man and Castro and Nurkovic on top. But the reality is they do try to build from the back. I was listening to Ernst talking about possession yesterday, in him trying to improve the possession stats of Kaizer Chiefs. They do try to initiate their build-up phases from the back. And that's why I say if you look at the profile of the players, 6 foot something, Castro 6 foot something, Nurkovic, you then are misled because you'll think long balls are coming. But the reality is they do come, but not as much as you would expect with regards to the profile of the players. So he's a difficult striker to deal with, particularly because also there's a lot of flexibility with how they approach matches. And sometimes it's Nurkovic with Kama, or Nurkovic with Castro, and then Kama as the third striker. And how they orientate that also changes throughout the match, so we are aware of that. But he's got his strengths, he's got also his couple of weaknesses that we have to also deal with, but that's for us to keep into our pockets. But yeah, Mabasa, I think credit to his upbringing. You know, when you speak to Tsekofatso's mother, you get an understanding of what type of background the boy comes from. So I think he's spiritually he's very grounded, and sometimes we take that for granted because you know, sometimes you need a power source, and the boy is plugged in. He's plugged in. And he receives a lot of divine assistance. And you can tell, you know, he's spiritually grounded, very good upbringing. The family has done very well in raising him, very rooted, a lot of humility, and he gets that from his mother. You know, when you engage with the parents, sometimes you get a feeling of what type of background the player comes from. So once you've got that, then it's easy for him to fit into the group, because it's important. No man is an island. He needs the support of his teammates to be able to receive passes, to be able to initiate the high press, and he needs his teammates for all those phases. And he's coachable. You know, that's one thing that helps when you're a youngster. When you're coachable and you listen, it's easier for you to adapt and to improve. And I think those are the 3 things that you'd probably pick up about Utsego.
You have not had a lot of turnaround time between the Highlands Park game and the Chiefs game. And obviously it's 2 different games from the magnitude as well as the style of play that both teams have. How do you approach this Chiefs game on Saturday? Do you just need the players to switch on mentally, or do you want to tweak a couple of things tactically? Or maybe a change of personnel going into the game on Saturday?
No, we prepare as we normally do for any opposition. Obviously, Kaizer Chiefs are stronger, and we accept that. We know that. We are humble in our approach to this match. We know they are stronger, and they must show on the pitch that they are stronger. They are not conceding a lot of goals. They've only conceded 6 this season. But they're free scoring team with 15 goals. A huge contribution of that from the trio plus Manyama, who's contributed more than any other player with 6 of the 15 goals that they've scored. So yeah, we know what we have to face. We've prepared. We know we've done our analysis. We've checked our game against Highlands Park. We've done our analysis on Highlands Park, things that we did right, things that we can improve. And we go into the game against Chiefs prepared, knowing that they are stronger. I don't want to use the term underdog, but they are stronger. You know, I don't want to use the term underdog because out of respect for our players, but they come into the match as the favorites.
Coach, you've been one of those people that have been vocal. I remember there was one derby where you actually made the headlines throughout the week after you said Kaizer Chiefs bench had no depth and stuff like that. But in recent times, you see the more contained Rulani since you took over the head coach position. What has changed? Has Rulani learned something new, or is Rulani scared of Kaizer Chiefs now that he's on the firing end?
Welcome, Temba. It's good to have you. No, but you know, you go through you go through different stages in life, and if you don't read and you don't update yourself, you will always remain behind. Phil Jackson, I was listening to Phil Jackson the other day, and he said, you don't become the coach that you want. You actually have to become the coach that the team needs. Now, in this particular moment, Orlando Pirates doesn't need a vocal Rulani Mokwena. It doesn't need a vocal Rulani Mokwena. I think when you see what we are going through, you can understand that the only talking that will do justice is the talking that's done on the pitch. The rest, no one is interested in. So it's not fear, it's growth. It's a metamorphosis. Is going through different stages and being able to say, like an eagle, I'm prepared to pluck my own claws, break my own beak, and take out my own feathers. Because if I want to see 70, I must make sure that I revive myself. So like an eagle that goes through that stage, when he gets to 40, the eagle says, do I want to prolong my stay or do I want to die? And it's got a huge decision to make. So as a coach, you then adapt to the environment, you adapt to the conditions, you adapt to that specific phase that you are facing. And the players know I fear nothing. And it would be a wrong interpretation to say I'm afraid. I fear absolutely nothing. And like I said about Tshego, I'm also extremely spiritually grounded. Even though I walk through the shadow of death, I fear no evil.
Afternoon, coach.
Yep.
What kind of ref are you hoping for? The reason I'm asking this, because I think it will be for it will be for everybody's good to have a result where after a match we're not talking about referees.
Yeah. I prefer not to talk about the refs. I think what's happening is in the country is sad. It is sad. And like I said, I've had an opportunity to watch the Highlands Park match. Before I was asked about my comment on the offside goal, and I hadn't seen the clips. So, of course, clear offside. The situation with Mabasa, I told the players yesterday I take a little bit of the blame with his two-footed tackle because I asked for a fight, and the boy misinterpreted what I asked for. So I blame myself. You know, I said to them they must fight. So the boy goes and he makes a two-footed tackle on Nulindo very early, and he could easily have been sent off. And I said yesterday to them, I said it was a red card. You know, we have to be honest with our assessment, because if we are not honest, then the players look at us and say, what type of leader do we have? You know, and they then question your credibility. I've been very vocal about this, and I've said, and I will not speak about referees. I will not talk about referees. They make mistakes, and everybody makes mistakes. But I think what is happening is a clear signal for assistance. They are crying out for help. I don't know what help that is. It could be technological. It could be add more resources to it. I don't know what it is, but what is happening is the referees are crying out for help. I don't know whether it's deliberate also, but the cry is very loud. They need help, and they need support at this moment. They don't need us to be bashing them. They need our support at this moment.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Good afternoon, Vey.
Yes. I just want to go back to what you had said about Chiefs, them being free scoring, and then looking at your side. I think in the last 6 matches, it was your second clean sheet earlier this week. What would you say about the defensive organization of your team or your defense? Because you had let in a number of goals, and how does that affect your approach coming up against a team like this? And also, you spoke about Coach Mirendop earlier. You have someone in your team who can be referred to as a protege of Mirendop. I'm sure you are picking up, not that you have not been picking up his brain, but I'm sure it's very effective this week and also probably next week as well in Coach Fadlu.
Yeah, Coach Fadlu is part of our technical team, an important part of our technical team. And of course, like you say, he's got a lot of background with regards to having worked with Coach Middendorp. But we do the normal work. The entire technical team works very hard to try and make sure that we pick up certain details with regards to each and every single opponent, and that goes into all the other members of the technical team, be it Darian, be it Michael, Kyle, our analysts. They also play a huge role in that. So we go in not blindly. We go in trying to make sure that we pick up as much data as we can, as much information with regards to the opposition as we can. Because times move. Ernst has come back from, I don't want to say, tourism. No, it's not. But he came back from Thailand and no, not honeymoon. No, honeymoon you must get married first. So he didn't. He wasn't there to get married. But he went for a learning expedition. You know, you can call it that, because to go to different backgrounds and different cultures, you come back and you can see even with his persona. He comes from Asia now. He's a little bit more Husa, you know. You can see he's a little bit more chilled, you know, and it's a completely different personality of Ernst that we see now. So obviously there's been also that has happened with him, that evolution that has taken place personally, and maybe that's got to do with the culture and the background that he spent a bit of time in for the last couple of years. So. And the things that he's also picked up in those environments, you try and check them and see, because of the flexibility and how the team plays, you can also pick that up. With regards to us, our defensive organization, how we attack informs how we defend, and that's the most important part. We don't isolate our phases of play. We try to make sure that we're not too controlled with regards to the movements and our offensive schemes. But we have to be able to be in positions where when we do lose the ball, we are able to assist the team to defend. And then we've got different phases of our defense and defensive schemes, and we go through different criteria or different phases. But our players know, and our offensive players know, that they form a very important part of making sure that we defend better and we keep better clean sheets. And you could see even against Highlands, when we do lose the ball, you see the first people to engage are your offensive players, and that's why sometimes, like I said earlier, as coaches, we've got to take a bit of the responsibility, because that's why a lot of our players have got bookings. You know, our offensive players have got a lot of bookings because they engage in the first phase of breakdown of play.
How is your strategy going to inform your defense? How is it going to inform your approach against this Liscon team?
No, I don't. Obviously there's certain strengths that you've got to control. Obviously there's certain patterns that they regularly work on, and you can see how they repeat themselves in every match. But be that as it may, I think we don't alter much. We don't change much in our way of working. We try to be as custom made as possible. Try to make sure that when we prepare the team for everybody. And that means you've got to have certain principles within your game forms, and once you do that, then you can continue to move even when you have injuries like we've had this season. And whoever plays, the game model, the style, and the approach remains consistent regardless of who's on the pitch.
Coach, we've seen what is going on with Orlando Pirates also happening globally, in terms of your Manchester United, Jose Mourinho and your Frank Lampard. And that doesn't make you a bad coach, knowing that you're struggling a little bit with the combination. But how would you sum up your stay as a head coach of the Orlando Pirates?
It's been educational. It's been extremely challenging, of course, and I didn't expect it to be easy. But it's been one that has stretched me, and not just from a knowledge perspective, because I'm fortunate enough that I've got a lot of support from that regard. I've been invited again to go, and I said I made an example with regards to Klopp when he arrived at Liverpool, and in December I've been invited again to go and spend a bit more time with them. So obviously to share my experiences and to also try and find out how he survived and how he kept going in that moment when he arrived and the results were not coming, but you could see a little bit the foundation that was being laid. And like you've already made reference to, and sometimes we make it too much about the coach in this country. Look at Man United, a big club, resourceful club, and after Sir Alex Ferguson left, they had Moyes, they had Van Gaal, they had Mourinho, and now they have Ole. And the reality is, sometimes it's not always about the coach. Obviously, there are certain things that the coach needs to try to tweak and change and try to make sure that even through the difficulty, the team continues to go through and maintain its status as a big club. And that's what we know. We have to maintain our status as a big club. And sometimes that is to compromise, like against Highlands Park, that is to compromise a little bit the identity and play for the result, because the moment you sacrifice results first as a big club, then you sacrifice your status as a big club. So we know about that, and we try to make sure that we are consistent with regards to our approach with regards to that. But I know Steve Kompela always speaks about the 4 stages, and they are important. And if you look at where Orlando Pirates is and try to identify where Pirates is or was at the end of last season, moved into the preseason with a huge transition of 15 players and 15 important players that left us, and then 10 new players coming in, and then losing Mitchell. You then understand when we speak of forming, storming, norming, and performing, and you move to adjourning and you restart the cycle, you can then find out where Pirates is and why Pirates is where it is in that stage. So it's when you put it into context and you understand the transitions and you move through the different cycles and the different phases of any team dynamics. Go to Real Madrid with Zinedine Zidane. What happened at the beginning of the season? 6 new players came in and a huge overload of players left, and they're trying to find consistency in their game forms and all of that, and at the same time the expectation is to get results. So you've got to be wary of where you are, try to move within the cycle, but also try to be very understanding of why you are where you are, because sometimes you can try to be a little bit too ahead of yourself and not understanding the cycles and the stages. And we know, we are clear in our minds, we are in our understanding where we are in those stages, that we moved from that performing and finished very strong towards the end of the season. There was an adjourning with players coming in and coming out, and now we form a new cycle. So as you move from forming, you then go into storming, and you can't skip stages. You've got to, it's a process, and you've got to believe and trust in the process, and understand that from the storming, things will normalize, and as soon as things normalize, you'll get into your performance stage again. So you've got to carry your team through the different cycles and make sure that, like I said earlier, you're not the same coach in the different cycles. Once you get into the storming phase, you've got to be a different personality and be the right type of coach that the team needs at that time.
What is that process like of shuffling through different players for different games? I know there's horses for courses, but I mean, ahead of a derby, what do you say to the players having to mentally prepare themselves to actually do battle against a Kaizer Chiefs side that's on form, and knowing all the dynamics around a derby with the fans obviously adding that pressure element as well?
I think there's two sides to answering that. One is obviously in terms of group dynamics, trying to make sure that we give everybody game time, and we try to keep everybody happy. It's a big squad, and when you've got a big squad, you've got to try to manage the big squad, and part of managing that is try to give minutes to everybody. And not only Dube came on, but I think it's now 24 with Mabaso. Abel Mabaso came on as a sub for his first appearance, and we try to manage the squad by making sure that we give everybody minutes. And the other side is a side that you've never heard me talk about, is our injury list. We've had a lot of injuries this season, and it's not something, we don't complain about it, because we prepare everybody for when we go into preseason, when we train, we do certain things in a certain way to build principles in our game forms, and make sure that everybody that has to partake into the match comes in and knows what needs to be done. So it's two parts. It's from a tactical perspective and a psychological one, because it's important while we're going through what we are going through to try and manage the dynamics within the group. But the other one is we've had a lot of injuries this season, and if I can give you the list, we'll be here until tomorrow. We've had a lot of injuries, but you don't hear us talking about it because we don't complain about injuries. We've got a big squad. We soldier on and we move on, and we don't complain and make excuses. Yeah, it's the normal routine. It's the normal routine. We go through our analysis. We go through our preparation. They say proper preparation eliminates fear, and that's it. And psychologically, once you are properly prepared, you know what you're going to face, and when you face those same pictures and the scenarios that you are prepared for, already psychologically the brain gives you certain chemicals that allow you to then go into the match with a lot of confidence. And that's how we prepare for most of our matches, to make sure that the players know the pictures, the players know the cues, the triggers, and the players are aware of some of the responsibilities that they've got to carry out onto the pitch. And once they're prepared properly, then it's easier for them to deal with the different scenarios within the pitch.